Welcome to the latest edition of The Blend. My name is Steve Benz. Today, I've got a great vocalist, one of the pure vocalists from the 80s and 90s. Her name is Carol Decker. You're going to know her from the band Tapow. She was on the show 2015 with her latest CD. Now she has brand new music. Carol, welcome back to the show.
Oh, it's great to be back, Steve. Thanks for asking.
So, how is life where you are right now with everything that's going on worldwide?
Um, it's been pretty horrible, like it has been for everybody. I've had blessings to count in terms of being able to kind of hunker down, stay safe, a little bit of money in the bank, so not to worry too much. But I just obsessed about the way the world's been because I know it's been said before. I'm probably just repeating what other people have said, but it's been like being in like that movie Contagion or some weird 28 days later, seeing the great cities of the world silent and then there's awful early scenes of 2020, New York City in particular got hit so hard, Italy, looking at all the casualties.
Los Angeles, where I'm from, it all got hit pretty hard, pretty hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just have not even yet, 15 months later, whatever it is, been able to wrap my head around all of that. It's been frankly dystopian, hasn't it?
Mm.
So right now, as we talk today, we are waiting for Boris to kind of open us up. We were allowed back in restaurants and pubs the other day. So I've been basically drunk for about 3 days. Actually, no, my husband jokes that we needed all the pubs to open up so we could cut back on our drinking because
Isn't
we were
that
just
the
at
truth?
home with Netflix going, you don't have to drive, you don't have to get up, there's no work. So we were just putting on a little COVID timber, as they say, and drinking our troubles away with some
Oh my
Netflix
goodness.
box sets. I know.
I'm not alone. I am not alone with Netflix and drinking every night. I feel much better. I
You
feel
know what? I love my TV. I've just made a list of. I was just listening to some TV critic. I just made a list of some things I need to watch this week.
all right. Maybe I
Yeah,
need to start a countdown with your favorite shows for everyone that all the artists have been trapped inside. We need to grade all these Netflix and Hulu programs.
we do. That would be a good show to do. Definitely.
Like watching that. Did you watch The Crown? Like I'm a big, huge fan of The
I
Crown.
I did, but I didn't have as much interest in it when it got to Olivia Colman. Not because of Olivia Colman, but I really loved the early episodes with
So did I.
young Margaret, young Elizabeth, young Philip. Matt Smith was just fabulous as our late great D who's not with us anymore. And also, I remember all these stories. I'm old enough to remember all these stories. I was a kid when it was happening, but where the Queen couldn't give Margaret permission to marry the man that she loved, and then history repeated itself, didn't it, with Charles and Camilla?
Yeah, it did.
All the protocols and the stuffy system that they're stuck inside. It's kind of weird. So yeah, first couple of seasons I liked, then I kind of drifted away from that. But what else did I love? I binged, rewatched The Night Of with Riz Ahmed, who I think that's just stunning. I can't remember half the things I've watched.
I would recommend watching Glenn Close in the show Damages. So
Yes.
that
Yeah,
was
okay, love her. Anything she's in is just fantastic. And yeah, no, I can't actually remember the names of any of the programs I've watched, but
because there's so many.
I know I've watched a lot
I've
of them.
never watched so much television in my life where I'm watching 10 episodes in a row. I've never done that in my life before. So
No, and I've been waking up. I got a little I think COVID insomnia anxiety, and I started waking up like 2:30 in the morning, just having the flutters. Just I think all the anxiety seeping in about what the future was going to hold. So again, God save Netflix. 2 o'clock in the morning, I was up carrying on or starting something else. It's like it's cheaper than therapy.
and if it wasn't for Netflix and Amazon, I'm not sure I would have survived trapped in my house. Although I
No,
was able to get out to the studio and things of that sort, so I actually would see people every now and then. But
yeah,
it's just too weird to work virtually with people. Even producing this show, it is just
yeah.
too weird to just see people's faces on a computer screen and not be able to.
No, I know. So some of it was well, funnily enough, about Amazon, I'd made a policy decision about 2 years ago to try and use Amazon less,
Mhm,
support my local high street,
mhm.
you know, even though they're 3 times as expensive, and try and cut, you know, not contribute to the extra traffic on the road and all the trucks and all the rest of it. But thank the Lord for Amazon. Jeff Bezos has become the richest person in the universe because we all need Amazon now, don't we? And thank God, in a way, I get what you're saying about the whole Zoom thing.
So
But imagine if we didn't have it, we really would have been isolated. So, for example, I actually did 2 TV shows from home. So the TV stations sent all the cameras
okay.
in a big flight case, and the beauty lights and everything, and a laptop, and you dialed into the Zoom, and then on about 10 screens was the producer, the director, the technical guy, the, you know, and then the person who's checking the background to make sure that the photo behind you, you might have to take it off the wall because they don't have a license to broadcast that image, or, you know, and they would say left a bit, right a bit, see like that guitar there, you know, that looks like a move that's growing out of your head. So they'd frame the shot, and it was like bomb disposal. You know, they'll go, okay, Carol, take the yellow cable and put it in the red jack hole, take the black cable, and then bingo, we were filming a show. And so that's been quite amazing. And I think some TV studios, or even other sectors, will have realized they can save a bit of money. They cabbed all of those cameras to me, as opposed to having to pay me to go to the studio, pay for transportation for me, feed and water me all day. You know, so I think some people are going to realize this can work on a certain level going forward.
Even Sirius Radio, that's how it's been done for years. None of them are sitting in studios, or at least only a handful are. The rest have been dialing in from home for years.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't think that's been quite so prevalent in the UK, because I've certainly, just with COVID, it's happened. But prior to that, I was always jumping in the car and hoying up to London. So yeah, I think we're a bit behind you.
America's a little bit different because there's a lot more places to go
Yeah.
in different studios, and most of the on-air talent is, you know, they're in the middle of the country and things of that sort. So where at least I'm
Yeah.
looking here in the city, you know, in
So
Chicago.
yeah, it's handy. It's handy. Oh, talk about the windy city. It's blowing a gale here. It's May, and I walk the dog in my ski jacket. Crazy. Henley-on-Thames, the windy town. I know.
It's only in the 80s here in windy. So it's
Yeah. I love Chicago, because we did our first album. You probably know this, in Lake Geneva, which is a couple of hours out. I used to come in on a day off, or come in shopping into Chicago, go to the Comedy Store, have a bite to eat.
see.
Happy memories, definitely.
Oh yeah, now that we're somewhat open, I'd say we're about 50% open, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited just to see some of the listeners and fans at concert, even small venues, just to reach out and talk to them again, which is kind of nice. It's a little weird to be chatting with them the entire time.
Yeah, and what do you think? I want to move to Texas myself. How do you feel about what Texas have done? I've been super impressed.
Well, they've done a really good job. They've always had good leadership, and it's a good place to move as I age gracefully for tax reasons. So,
But you know, just the way that the governor has said, no, we're going back to normal, and that's my personal philosophy. Whichever way you slice this,
sure.
horribly, people were going to get sick, and some people were going to die.
Yeah.
That was always going to happen, and I think we should have, my own personal opinion, done targeted protection as best we could.
Sure.
And let the rest of us crack on.
Right.
And right now, that there'll be an inquiry here in the UK as to the damage the lockdown has done, which runs maybe worse and deeper than the damage that the disease did. So, you know, so that's where I am. So yeah,
You would fit in Texas. You would fit in Texas with the big hair. You would.
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
You know, because one of the
Definitely.
funniest things I ever read was that you were described when you were young as a match. That is one of the funniest things I've ever read.
Well, I was super skinny, and in fact, I was showing my son a 1988 live concert at Hammersmith Odeon, and he went, "God, Mom, you were a stick," and I was like, "I know, I want to be like that again." No, I was so thin, very pale, very white, very pale, you know, translucent sort of Irish skin, and my hair was bright red, so I looked like a match. This sort of
See, my friends and I would call, if we had met you, a lollipop. You would have been one of the lollipop girls. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
And you can't be that stick skinny if you're drinking. All right, Carol.
No. Oh, well, I could then.
You can't do it now. So
no, you can't. It all slows down, doesn't it? It's really depressing. It's really depressing. So I'm in the gym like 4 times a week, so I can, you know, make room for some Merlot.
Right. And you're gonna have to practice that Texas drawl as well, because
Sure.
the
Yeah.
women I know from Houston and Dallas, they said they want big hair because it makes their waistline look smaller, and that's the
Oh,
whole.
yeah, yeah. Well, shoulder pads.
See,
Yeah,
bring back
yeah,
the shoulder pads in the '80s. I'd love
yeah,
that. I
yeah. I know. In fact, some guy said to me once, a few years back, he went, "What is it with you older birds? You think lots of hair and big sunglasses makes it all look okay? It doesn't." Shut up.
It's like wearing black. It doesn't help, but we like it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you've got some new music. I want to make sure we talk about that.
Thank
Now,
you.
the new track, climbing up the charts. We are following the Heritage chart, which is
Thank
really good.
you.
Do you
Yeah.
know Mike? That is one
No,
fantastic guy.
yeah, Mike Reed, I know Mike really well. So we're of a similar vintage. So over here in the UK, he was hosting what was the biggest music TV show, which was Top of the Pops.
Mhm.
And so we met, way back 30 odd years ago. And he's continued his career in radio. And bless him for this chart, because what happens to a lot of us sort of older artists is across the world, there are lots of stations formatted to the 70s or the 80s, or and thank you very much. I'm not complaining. My classic hits get played all over the world. Heart and Soul still gets lots of airplay in the United States, and I'm very, very grateful. But you come out with some new music, and so they can't play it because they're formatted to the 80s. And then the stations I used to get on, I'm too old. They're like, nah, they don't judge the song on its merits. I'm just too old for their demographic. So there's nowhere to sort of put your music, which is frustrating. So Mike came up with the Heritage chart. I'm not the biggest fan of the name. I don't know what else we could have called it. But I know what he's trying to give a nod to the heritage of our music. I get that. And there's a little strap line saying that was then, this is now. So I probably would have called it something else, but I really appreciate an opportunity to have somewhere for my song to go. I think it's at number 8 right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what my show is all about. Talking about me being in the '80s and '90s, artists like you. So it fits in perfectly, and he is royalty. He is radio royalty. So I'm very happy that I know him as well. So let's
But
talk about this brand new track. It sounds like you're singing about someone specific. Are you?
there's always a bit of a little, what's the word, autobiographical stuff in my songs, for sure. I pull on my own experiences. And also, when I observe other people, I always do that. Things just seep in, and it'll come out 2 years later, something I heard, saw, could have been people sitting across a restaurant from me, half hear the conversation, or something on the telly, that kind of thing. Yeah, and it's when you've taken someone for granted,
Mm.
and you think they're always going to be there, and you just don't fully appreciate them, and then one day they turn around and say, "I'm off." And you're like, "Oh, sorry," and it's too late. So that's it. And guess who's sorry now, which is the title of the song.
Now, can you imagine? We both have kids, and our kids are around the same age, where
Yeah,
they're having relationships through a phone. So, where
yeah.
I saw a text to my daughter, and that's how they split up through the phone. How is that even possible?
That is so rude and impersonal, isn't it? But we're all cowards at heart. I remember when I was young, I was a teenager, and I was going out with this guy, and I just decided no, I don't want to see him anymore. And so he came to call and rang the doorbell, and I just hid behind the sofa and got my mom to tell him I wasn't in. So that was the equivalent of my text dump. And she was going, "Oh, poor Charlie, don't you ever do that to me again." I was going, "Shh, shh, has he gone?"
Oh
All
my
cowards. It's hard to finish with someone, isn't it?
God.
And I think social
Made
media
Charlie
provides.
famous. Okay. Charlie is now famous.
Charlie's my favorite.
So,
He was really cute, but it just wasn't going to work. But I think social media has become another barrier between us, and it's kind of weird because when it started, um, did you have Friends Reunited in the States?
yes.
Okay, so we had that in the UK, and that was the first, whatever happened to that girl from school I haven't seen for 10 years, tap her name in, you see where she is, that kind of thing. And then you could reach out to friends, especially, with the world being so international now. It was great to keep in touch with that friend out in Australia on Facebook or whatever. So it was great. And then it kind of flipped where I noticed quite a few years ago, I don't actually talk to my friends on the phone anymore. My best friend lives in LA. never hear from her. And because I don't do Facebook on a personal level, I have no idea what's going on in her life. And some people think, well, that's it. I put all my information onto my social media platforms. I've done my bit, but you're not actually really talking to anybody. And we need to spin that back. I feel really strongly about this. We need to start our personal relationships back up again and put social media back in context.
You
It's not, you know,
you think over the past year, more people would do FaceTime and Zoom and at least kind of reach back out. I've been trying to do that with friends that want to see me and don't want to see me. And I mean that.
well, we did one Zoom family chat with Richard has three brothers, two brothers, and they have three sons, and so there's big extended family. And there must have been about 15 squares. It was like that. Remember Celebrity Squares? It's like that game.
Yep.
When your career had come to a crushing end and you had to appear on Celebrity Squares. And honestly, that's the first and last one I did, because some people just weren't even paying attention.
Yeah.
One sister-in-law was just sucking a nice lolly and not bothering to keep the conversation going. I'm a big silence filler. I feel it's my job to entertain everybody and make sure nobody feels uncomfortable. So I was just talking constantly, and trying to make everybody feel at their ease. I was shattered by the end of it. So I'm just not doing that again, you know. So.
And that's how it usually works. That's why I don't want to be on a lot of business Zoom calls. It's like, you do not want to see me roll my eyes. You don't want to see, or my chair is empty because I'm in the other room. I'm not paying any attention to this.
Well, I'll give you an example. I went out yesterday and I popped into a coffee shop, grabbed some croissant and stuff to bring home. Bumped into the mom of one of my daughter's school friends, who went to the same university, albeit a year ahead of Scarlett. And she said, "What's Scarlett doing?" And I said, "Oh, you know, she graduated in animation, but trying to get a job in her sphere, and it so far no luck." And she went, "Oh, tell her to get in touch with India. I think her firm are looking for people." Now, that happened because we were in the same room together. So I came home with some information for Scarlett. You should, is she on Facebook? You're on Facebook with her? Right, get in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Ping her your CV. Excuse me. That wouldn't have happened. You know, that's the sort of thing that stops with the world shutting down and relying on technology, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's a different world. I'm not sure if I was 20 and this happened to me, I'm not sure how well I would have handled it. I think my kids have done a really good job, but I'm not sure I would have handled it very well.
My son didn't notice because he's a gamer. I think he's been self-isolating since he was about 12. And I've only just realized that now.
That's my son. He's a gamer too. So.
Yeah, I know. And but my daughter has definitely suffered some anxiety. She graduated last year in July 2020, but got booted off campus in March and sent home because they did. Graduated by email, like meh, you know. So I bought her a cap and gown off Amazon, and she threw her mortarboard up in the air, and the dog ran off with it. So we did a little graduation ceremony in the garden for her, but it was all a damp squib. And
my daughter went through the same thing. So
yeah, and she's very anxious. She's very anxious, and I say to her, "Can you go to the store, go to the supermarket yourself? We're out of milk. Here's a little thing. Just go get some milk. Just go." And she's worried to leave the house, you know.
Now, you had mentioned in the past mental health and things of that sort. So how do you feel for these people that have so much anxiety with what has just happened and the big change to reopen the world?
I would just say there was a great once upon a time, a friend gave me a tape, an old cassette, and it was by the late and lovely Susan Jeffers, which was "Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway." It was really famous, little sort of self-help tape that she'd made. And that's the thing to do. It's you're allowed to be anxious. You just, you know, you have to let those feelings happen, let them roll through you, and then feel the fear and do it anyway. Set yourself a little task, like break your life down into baby steps. That always helps me when I'm worried about something. I go, okay, you know, what's the first thing I need to do, and then the second thing I need to do. Make sure you get plenty of sleep if you can. Make sure you have good food, you know, stuff that feeds you all the nutrients and stuff. Give yourself the best start that you can. And I like things like things like cognitive behavioral therapy, where you learn techniques to help you cope. There's no point, in my opinion, going into therapy for years and years and years and just crying, you know.
Very true.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I watched an amazing interview with Kelsey Grammer, who of course played Fraser Crane for 20 odd years. Personally, in his own life, he doesn't believe in a lot of therapy, which I thought was really interesting to hear. So take as many practical steps as you can to support yourself. And if you're lucky enough to have a good family member or a good friend you can talk to them. So that's what I do. I bore people to death. And my husband says, you do realize a problem shared is a problem doubled, you know.
And for
But
those asking what a cassette was, when you mentioned a cassette, look it up. You can Google it to find out.
yeah, cassette. We used to put out singles as well. Yeah, look it up. So, but furnish yourself as well, especially going back out into the world if you're worried about the virus. Furnish yourself with um, the right information. Just don't stay in echo chambers that say, or it doesn't exist, or don't stay in an echo chamber that says you're going to die if you step outside your front door. Get balanced news. You know, life is all about risk. And what
It is.
I do is, I particularly to the virus, we look up things. We have the Office of National Statistics, ONS website, and this is still really sad, but have a look how many people die a year of flu,
True. Very
you
true.
know, and pneumonia, which is awful for those people and for their families. But we do not lock the world down, and you don't go walking around in fear of your life because some other poor individual died of pneumonia. So put it into perspective, put the virus into perspective.
Yeah. My family got ravaged with COVID. So we did lose some members. But with that, as I told my family, when we had that big Zoom as well, I said, but we're still here. We're still
Yeah,
here. Go
yeah,
outside, go for a walk, get some fresh air. That's how you're going to be able to learn to cope. You have to learn to cope yourself.
yes.
Give me that.
No, and it's been awful, and it has ravaged some families. I absolutely understand that. But we can't live like this forever. So you've got to start to bolster up your confidence and your personal, strength and stuff. And whatever floats your boat, I've got some motivational apps and stuff that just give me positive vibes, things to think about, give me a little bit of confidence.
I'll have Netflix and booze. So that
Yeah,
helps.
and Netflix and booze, which is great.
Be a neighbor. Just go out with a pitcher of bourbon and say, you can come over here. We can sit
Booze,
down and talk.
booze flicks.
There we go.
Start my own company called Booze Flicks.
I want a piece of that. Okay. You and
Yeah,
me together.
yeah.
Goodness. So before we go, I do want to touch back on the new music. Is there a following CD that will come out this year too for Who's Sorry Now?
Yeah. So please also check out Be Wonderful, which we put out last year with an amazing
Mhm.
lockdown video that did really well on the Heritage chart as well. I think it got to #1. And my kids filmed that video for me because they both did little college
Better.
courses in film and animation and stuff like that. So if you go onto YouTube and put in To Power Be Wonderful, To Power Guess Who's Sorry Now, which is the most recent one. And then Ronnie and I have another track we're working on. So we got all these done just before lockdown, March 2020. And we were starting the album, and then we couldn't get together because of what happened. And Ronnie was in Wales, and Wales had different rules to England, and blah blah blah. So we're going to get together now and hopefully have an album for everybody for next year. And that's what we'd started, but we just decided we would drip feed out these download tracks. We just thought we wouldn't delay. Let's put them out.
Yeah, that's got to be the biggest change from when you started. You'd have to release an entire album. Now you can go one single at a time and see how it does. So you could just essentially do an EP of just 4 songs now.
Exactly. I don't know if it makes any sense. I have no idea. Ron just said, let's just do it. And and so my kids filmed the video for The Wonderful, and then my son Dylan did a lyric video for Guess Who's
Wow.
Sorry Now.
Okay.
They're a big thing at the moment, lyric videos. So yeah, if you check out To Power
Why
on our
do you have
YouTube channel.
kids so talented?
I
I
know,
wouldn't
right?
have guessed that at all when I had kids, and if I would have had kids when I was very, very young, I'm not sure I would have lasted in this industry as long as I have, because no one needs to know how long I've been doing this.
Well, no, I was allergic to children until I was 40. I had Scarlett when I was 40 and Dylan when I was 45. So I sort of really took my time because you have to give yourself over to them. You can't have it all. You can't, especially I still think most women are the primary caregivers, especially when the kids
True.
are little.
Very true.
And you can't have it all. I couldn't have been on the road with the band and been a mum, and I wasn't going to drag them around the world with me, and I wasn't going to leave them behind. So you know, it's a tough, it's a tricky choice. I was very fortunate in that I could make that decision and decide to stay home for a while and then get back to work when they were a little bit older, you know.
Now, have you warned them, like I have my kids, that as I age, they're going to have to take care of me now, and they better not regret it?
Th Yeah, I've kind of had that conversation. They look horrified, you know, talk about adult
I already
diapers.
told my kids I drew out what my house would look like, the back end, all that. And they're like, "Well, what about mom?" I'm like, "Well, what about her? This is for me. This is
Yeah.
for me." So, oh my god.
Yeah, no, they look after me now because 'cause I'm the cash cow, so they make sure I I stay fit and healthy.
Sounds like my kids. Eventually, we will get together, and if you come to the States and one day you meet my kids, you'll say, "Wait a second, they're just like my kids." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"See?
No,
Oh,
thank a mum and dad, and also I was so a taxi service this morning, so I took husband to the train station, drove back up the hill, grabbed son, who was late for college, drove him down the other hill to college. I'm just about to go and get husband from the train station. Then I have to get daughter from the restaurant where she has a part-time job.
so you're your own Uber. You're the
I
family
am
Uber."
Uber mom. And
See?
then when I get Scarlett, I'm hitting the Merlot and the Netflix. So, got it all planned.
Carol, thank you so much for coming back on the show. Everybody, go check out the new video. Go check out the new music. We will post your website after all this. Carol, when the next single comes out, you are welcome to come right back.
I
Okay?
would love to chat and lots of love to everybody in Chicago. What a great city you live in. I'll come back one day, I hope. Yeah.
Carol, you take care. We'll see you soon on The Blend.
Right. Mwah. Bye. I see ya. So I'll do those IDs later.
Yes, you do them at your leisure and just send them to me. We are all good. And then I'll just
Brilliant.
tag them. And once this all posts, I'll send out some links. This
Yeah.
will air next week, Wednesday. And
Okay,
then
we'll send me the links and we'll put them on Twitter and Facebook.
great, fantastic. Carol,
Thanks.
great seeing you again after
Love,
these years.
yeah, love seeing you too. Bye.
Now,
Bye.
bye.